Hi everybody, welcome to Bugbears and Brews. My name's Brian and today we're doing Encounter Recap number 19 of our Storm King Thunders campaign. So a bit different than other encounters because this one was mostly combat. We had maybe 30 to 45 minutes of story or roleplay type time and exploration. The rest of it was all taken up with the single combat encounter. So starting with you guys following the dragon in your airship, staying a safe distance away, but close enough where you can see where he's going. And you found that he went into a cave, presumably his den. And so you guys landed about 15 minutes walk or so from there. That way you guys had a little bit of element of surprise on you, but you didn't want to put the airship in jeopardy considering the fact that it's already in shambles. And so you guys headed off in that direction, and when you got to the cave, you could clearly hear the dragon was talking to some people. However, nobody spoke Draconic, so you're not sure what exactly they were saying, or the dragon was saying. And the dragon would give some commands. Some smaller voices would talk back. Eventually, you'd hear some screaming and "No, no, no, not me" in common, and then that would abruptly be ended. So hearing this, Inigo thought, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and dive into the cave, see what I can find out. And he had wonderful stealth rolls, beat the dragon's passive perception. I wasn't expecting that, especially considering how high dragon's passive perceptions are, speaking from a meta standpoint. And so he was able to look around and found a bunch of kobolds running up and down the layer. So there were some that had wings that were flying up and down all over the place. There were some that were going up and down ladders and bringing down all sorts of, we'll call them victims for the dragon to eat. And so he did some of, taking, looking around, seeing what all was what. And when he actually witnessed a victim getting eaten, that's when he decided, let's go back, talk to the group and see about doing something. So Thessalon and Inigo came up with this idea of infiltrating the kobolds using disguise self and tongues. And then from there, trying to lure a bunch of the kobolds out and then blowing them up a la the Thessalon exploding bomb vest trick. So you guys went in. The rest of the group hung out at the front of the cave while Thessalon and Inigo went and infiltrated. And infiltrated they did. Through some good role play tactics and all that, they were able to get 16 kobolds to hang out with them to go back. The story that they spun was, hey, we were out and we saw the airship crash, and we know that the master is looking for that airship and really wants to eat those survivors that are on there, so we need help to go get those survivors. And so that round up 16 kobolds right there. And they weren't happy with that number, so they started talking about, hey, we need more. And they weren't sure how exactly to go about that, but then the dragon overheard them and said, you know what? I want who's ever on that airship in my belly right now. So whoever you can, send them with you. And they wound up getting 22 kobolds total. That's a mix of, I think most of them were on the ground, but there were groups of flyers as well. And as they got to the entrance of the cave, Thessalon, he went ahead and tried to place himself in optimal position, did his exploding bomb trick, and took out 18, I believe it was, out of the 22 kobolds right then and there. So that took care of a lot of kobolds. And then the beauty of it all was Thessalon and Inigo were able to play off that they had no part of that explosion, and it was the adventurers via some wonderful performance and deception checks. The dragon, hearing the explosion, immediately went right into action. Inigo thought he'd be slick and lay down on his rifle to shoot the dragon as the dragon came. The dragon knew that he and none of his kobolds had any of those rifles, and that the group that he just fought on the airship had rifles. So he guessed correctly that Inigo was not truly a kobold, blasted him with his lightning breath, and I was really worried. I thought I was going to have a dead character on my hands. However, Inigo saved, and then I rolled relatively poorly as well, so the damage ended up being, I think, 33 total damage to Thessalon. So considering that it was like 10d10, 33 damage at the end is not bad at all. It's, granted, part of that's saved, but even then, that's rolling not that much more than average. From there, combat broke out, and This was an interesting mechanic here because what I did with the kobolds is I grouped them up all into different squads of 4. So, 4 kobold would come running, a squadron of 4 kobold would come flying, and I treated their attack rolls as 1 damage. So I did 1 roll for all of them, I did 1 save for all of them. If there was like area effect spells and those kinds of things there, but I increased the damage instead of like having a standard D6. If they hit, it was a D12, assuming 2 out of the 4 would hit. The one thing that kind of threw my players off, which I didn't tell them until post game, was that I treat them like the 4th edition minions, which was they had 1 hit point. So if they hit a kobold, they were dead. I think this did accomplish what I was hoping by adding a lot of distraction to the fight besides just the dragon that they had to focus on, because I didn't want them to go ahead and start having to do round after round after round as these kobolds. And I figured these are now level 8 or level 7 adventurers. They should be able to pick off a kobold pretty easily. So if they hit the kobold, it dropped. The way that worked with groups is if they single targeted a kobold and they hit it, that kobold went down immediately. Some of the shots penetrated into second ones, or they cleaved into the other kobold, depending on how high the damage was. Just kind of make it thematic that they're just going through slews and slews of kobold. And I think that worked out really well, at least from my perspective. I think that my players also enjoy the fact that they were racking up massive body counts. At the end of all of it, they wound up going through 40 kobolds, which is actually what I designed for the encounter there. And then each time, like back to if the single kobold was killed out of the squad, it went from a D10 or a D12 to a D10 to a D8, and then if it was just the one remaining, it was the standard D6 short bow that they had there. So let's see here, some other notable moments. Inigo, he ran underneath the dragon, and he turned around and he tried to blast it with his sword. He tried to hit it with his sword, and I was really disappointed because I thought instead of doing the sword, he's like, oh, I got this really cool idea. I'm going to run underneath the dragon. And I thought he was going to say, pull out a shotgun and blast it in the underbelly. I thought that was going to be great. It would have been really cool to just kind of picture this dark elf sorcerer running underneath and just kind of jumping and sliding on his back and blasting him with the shotgun and kind of getting some kickback and pushing out a little bit further. However, he used the sword and he completely missed. So the cool moment, while I was all excited for it in my mind, didn't happen. It's a shame. The other thing is, you guys really had an issue hitting the dragon. It wasn't so much the high AC. It was just poor rolls. Poor rolls. The dragon had really good saves. I did use all his legendary resistances, speaking from a meta standpoint. I really kept you guys on your toes so you couldn't get close to him that much with the legendary actions, the tail whips off turn and all that kind of stuff there. So I think it was a really, really fair fight. I mean, you guys had the numbers for sure. Once you got all the kobolds done, you guys had the numbers, but he had the damage and the skills and a little bit of reach and whatnot. Him having a 10-foot reach to attack versus your guys' 5 really made for some tricky situations there. But towards the end of the fight, the dragon went and headed out of his cave and went up into a high arc and then came back down, tried to shoot a lightning breath at Rondi, but Rondi, being a slick rogue as he was, dodged out of the way and poof, ran into the cave, and then everybody was right there waiting for the dragon to come in. Rondi shot a lovely arrow and hit the dragon's wing right where it was already had the existing rip, along with Pavik's guiding bolt, and so that he had advantage on that, and it was lovely. He got a sneak attack damage, and then I don't remember what happened. Oh, the dragon then tried to retaliate and hit Pavik, I think it was, and did a nat 1 on his tail lash. And like I said, whenever there's a nat 1 or a crit at my table, I roll the percentile dice, and I rolled 100% on a nat 1 on the dragon. So what we said happened was the dragon lashed its tail into that hole that was in its wing and getting bigger and bigger, and just ripped its wing, like the webbing, in half, and the dragon just fell to the ground. From there, it wasn't quite game over, believe it or not. The dragon took some damage from that, and he couldn't fly anymore. And so the melee crew went to town. Grimlock went and started hitting, and sadly he couldn't get. Every time he did his stunning strike, the dragon saved. Dragon's high con save. Who would have guessed? So they couldn't get the stun off on the dragon. And it wound up. The funny thing that wound up happening at the end is Grimlock wound up taking the dragon down to 1 hit point left, and then the dragon retaliated and actually took Grimlock down. It would have killed Grimlock, but the half orc leave. You die, but you come back at 1 kicked in, and so they both had 1 hit point. Grimlock played dead. Pavic couldn't kill the damn thing, and the dragon kept on lashing out at everybody, thinking Grimlock was dead. And I forget who actually took out the dragon. I apologize about that. But in the end, the dragon wound up dying, and then you guys had the chance to go ahead and search the cave. Dragon cave, lots of loot, right? We're all excited for that. Searching around the dragon area, you wanted to find out, hey, is there any other survivors? You guys discovered there's a lot of kobold traps, but taking your time, you're able to find a group of children that were in the dragon caves there. And so you were able to save them. They were taken from a town not too far away. And so a group of you guys went and kind of tended to the children. A group of you started looking through the dragon horde, and another group went to go get the airship and tell them to come back this way. Looking at over the loop, there was a lot of gold. I don't remember the exact amounts. I don't have my sheet here in front of me, sadly. But there was some magic goodies. There was some arrows of giant slaying, which went to Rondi, I believe. There was a ring of spell storing. I don't recall who got that one. There was talks of giving it to Grimlock or maybe giving it to Leovoro when he comes back. There's a dagger of Nightstone. This one here, instead of being giant slaying, it's of venom. So if you hit somebody with the hit once a day, you can include some poison damage to it, and then it also acts as a +1 magic weapon. And then there was a greater healing ointment. After looting, you guys went ahead and said, you know what, let's go to the town, return the kids. The town was an absolute mess, really dirt poor, and so everybody decided to donate their copper, which I think was about 16 gold in, there was, I think, 16 gold worth of copper that every player had. So every player donated the copper, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you get, 5 players, that's what, 15 gold, 16 gold a pop. You're looking at, 75 gold that you guys are donating to the coffers of this desolate town there. So they were pretty happy with that. And it was a good act of charity. So I said, you know what, everybody is going to go ahead and take inspiration for that. That's the first and only time I think I'm going to allow buying inspiration like that. But I didn't even put it out there that that's what was going to happen. So the group just acted on that. And I said, you guys had a good, hard fight. You guys deserve some inspiration. So let's go ahead and take care of that. And from there, that's where we ended off. Housekeeping things. We have level 8 characters starting next week. Once again, we're going to be having a lot of character progression pretty quick. So I apologize that we only had a couple sessions at level 7. However, we had 3 sessions where we had level 7 chalked up, but we never actually took the long rest to act on it. And then there's kind of the thought about where to go. We can start to head off to the Fire Giants to try to steal the Shadow Flame key from them. We can just say screw that and go to the Shadowfell itself and pursue the Broomy storyline, along with trying to find a way into Eleni's tower, keep, castle, whatever you want to call it, without the Shadow Flame key. Or you can go down the path of investigating the Great Old Ones options for destroying the Nightstones and then through him subverting Eleni. So a couple options that we can do. Look forward to next session. I always look forward to my sessions with you guys. You guys really make Wednesdays go by slow at work because my mind's on D&D, and I'm like, man, can we get this going a little quicker so I can get to my D&D and get to my game? So really looking forward to next week. It's really interesting doing a really long combat like this. We haven't had a whole session long combat like that. I think this was definitely the way I think about it, this is definitely the hardest combat I've put you guys through. And as a DM myself, I think it's probably one of the harder combats I ran. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun throwing a lot of guys at you, and I look forward to it. I look forward to doing something like that again. So I think all you guys enjoyed the minion plays as well. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.